Hey everyone, today I have the final bodyweight AMRAP workout for you in this little mini series we've been doing the past few weeks, and this one is going to focus on upper body and core. Like with the previous two, we're going to break this workout into 4-minute long AMRAPs. AMRAP stands for as many rounds or reps as possible. How it's going to work is I'll give you 2 exercises and I'll tell you how many reps to do of each. You're going to cycle through those 2 exercises as many times as you can in the 4 minutes. We'll rest for 60 seconds and then I'll give you a fresh set of exercises and we will repeat that 4-minute AMRAP with different moves. Now if you're following along with this whole video, we are going to go through the 3 AMRAPs twice. If that's too long or too intense, you can always stop at the halfway point after just doing each AMRAP once. As with all workouts, you want to make sure you're properly warmed up beforehand and always listen to your body, modifying or stopping as needed. Before each 4-minute AMRAP, I'm going to show you the 2 exercises we're doing, and I'm also going to show you how to modify them, so at any point if you need to tone it down a notch, you'll know how to. If you're new to my channel, I don't play music in the background because I want you to be able to listen to whatever you like, so you might want to get a playlist or a TV show queued up, and if you're all set, let's get to the preview of the first set of exercises and we'll get going. All right, first 4-minute pushes coming up. We have those rolling crunches and mountain climbers with a push-up. So for these rolling crunches, it's a straight leg side V-up. You go to center for a bent knee crunch. You do the other side of the straight leg V-up, and then you come back to center for that bent knee crunch, and then that whole thing is 1 rep, and we do 5 of those. So make your way to the floor. I'm going to start on my side. Doesn't really matter where you start. 1 V up, we come to center, and then the other side. Now notice as I'm rolling through these, my legs are not coming to the floor, and I'm not really even resting my shoulders on the floor. So you kind of are rolling through your hips here. Now if you need to modify and rest your feet on the ground, of course do so, but if you are up for a challenge and you want the most advanced version of this one, legs are hovering the entire time, so your core is constantly active even when you're in that transitional roll. Once you complete 5 reps of that, or 5 sets, I should really say, of those crunches, we're going to come to a plank position. It's 5 mountain climbers and 1 push-up. For the mountain climbers, do 4 on each side, so it would be 8 total, and you're going to give me 1 push-up and go back to it. So it's 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4 for those mountain climbers. 5 of these combos total. If you need to modify, drop your knees to the ground for those push-ups. As soon as mine start to get sloppy looking, I'm going to come to my knees. No shame in that. But I like to try to at least start up on my feet. And throughout these exercises, don't worry if you are at a different point in them from me, okay? So you don't have to be going at the exact same pace as I am. If you're going slower, faster, that is awesome. The goal is to do as many reps or rounds as you personally can do in these 4 minutes. You want continuous movement, if possible, through the 4 minutes. Of course, if you have to stop for a second, catch your breath, do it. But I want you active for as much of these 4 minutes as possible. Now, another way to make these rolling crunches slightly easier, just do all of them with bent knees. So that side V up, instead of having your legs straight, if you keep the knees bent, I find that to be a little easier. Also, I demoed that further modification before we got going. You can always keep 1 foot on the ground and just kind of stay center, almost like a bicycle crunch. Now, when you're in In an extended part of those crunches, make sure you're really drawing your navel down to the floor. I don't want your low back to peel up towards the ceiling. So I'm moving into my second round of these mountain climbers. Again, it's 4 mountain climbers, 1 push-up. For the 4 mountain climbers, each set is 1, okay? So it's 4 on each side. And I'm going to modify these push-ups from my knees because the ones on my feet, the form is kind of going out the window. But if you can keep doing these from your feet, that's what you should be doing. When you do the push-up, make sure your core is active. So we're drawing the navel into the spine. Chest is broad and spine is long, which means your neck is long. So when you're doing the push-up, make sure you don't drop your head down. You shouldn't be looking at your feet. You should be looking kind of by your fingertips. We have under 60 seconds to go in this first AMRAP, more like 45 seconds here. Woo, I'm starting to struggle with these rolling crunches. This is one of my favorite core exercises besides plank work. I love it. So effective. Hitting the obliques and center core. Oh, as I stop and take a break. You got this, just about 10 seconds to go. Now, when those beep sounds, I want you to remember where you left off in this series, okay? And done. So you have 60 seconds to rest here. While you rest, I want you to watch this preview of the next 2 exercises. I'll also show you how to modify them, and we'll get going with AMRAP number 2. Okay, let's get ready for AMRAP number 2. So it's going to be that single-sided march with the crossbody crunch. Low rep number for those, just 3 each side. The reason I'm keeping the rep number low is because I don't want you to come out of the plank in between sides, okay? So do 3 on one side and then go right into 3 on the other side. Now you'll notice whatever elbow I'm bringing down to the floor, I'm then taking the opposite knee and crunching it towards that elbow. It doesn't matter, okay? As long as the knee is going to the opposite elbow, it doesn't matter which arm you go down on first. Just make sure you do 3 one side and then just switch it up for the next 3. After you have done your 3 each side, we're going to do those V up and overs. I'm just using a water bottle to bring my feet up and over it. You could use any object or you could use no object at all. It doesn't even matter. Just pretend you're going up and over something, okay? So 10 reps total here, which means 5 in each direction. You'll notice I have my fingertips lightly on the floor in front of my hips. So these, we're going to move through them much quicker than the first set of exercises, okay? So I know I only got like 2.5 rounds in of the first pair of exercises. These I'm already on pace to get in a few more. So again, don't worry if you're not at the same point as I am. Go at your own pace, but try to stay continuously moving the entire 4 minutes. You're already over a minute in. I'm going back to those V up and overs. So when your feet are to one side of the object, your torso is extended back. And then when you kick the feet up over the object, I want you to bring your chest up too, okay? So it's almost like you're folding your body in half a little bit. I'm making my way back to that plank. Make sure hands are stacked under your shoulders. Squeeze your quads and glutes. In this one, your legs are active. They're going to help support you and hold you in that good plank alignment. All right, now we are at the halfway point. So Think about how many rounds you've gotten through up to this point and use that to set a goal for yourself, okay? Can you match what you did in the first half? Try to double it again in the second half, okay? Now, if you have tight hip flexors, I realize the V up and overs can be a lot and they can be very uncomfortable. If you need to modify, do them with bent knees. All right, that's going to help a lot. All right, we got 60 seconds left, a minute to go. I'm making my way back to those V up and overs. When you're doing these V-ups, I want you to keep an open chest, okay? So think of sliding your shoulder blades down your back, chest is broad, spine long, neck is long. So I want you to keep your chin off your chest. I'm struggling. We got under 30 seconds to go. I'm making my way back to that plank position. So I love this exercise, the single-sided march with the crossbody crunch. It's great for upper body and core. So the stationary arm, the one that you're not lowering onto, it's almost like you're doing a half push-up on that side. So you will feel the arms really light up as you push up off the floor. And then, of course, we are getting the core involved in the obliques as we draw that opposite knee towards that elbow. And done. All right, so you have another 60 seconds to recover. I'm going to show you the final two exercises. Crab kicks and army crawls coming up next. And like I just showed you, if you don't have a towel for the army crawl, just do plank jacks instead and do 10 of them. So we're going to make our way to the crab position and we're doing 10 reps, 5 each side. You alternate kicking one foot up, then the next. So you're engaging through the posterior side of your body and you're bending the elbows. So each one of those kicks is a little tricep dip. For the army crawl, you make your way to a forearm plank position. You're crawling up and down. Up and down is 1 rep. You don't need to go super far, okay? I'm doing like 3 or 4 crawls up, 3 or 4 crawls back. That is perfect. You want to keep your hips at shoulder height. Mine are a little high. They could be lower. And you want as little rocking of the hips as possible. So really brace through your core to try to hold them level. If you're having trouble with that, you might just try separating your feet a little wider. So back to the crab kicks. These are quick. If you need to modify, instead of jumping between feet, like notice there's a split second where both my feet are off the ground here, you would just march instead. So slow it down. It'll make it a little less intense. Making my way back to that army crawl. You can do this from your knees. If you do, I would just use a towel and I would double it over so you have a little more padding under them. Now, the army crawls are tough. It's a long time to be in this plank position. If possible, though, I want you to try to get through all 5 reps up and back 5 times without dropping out of the plank. Coming into the crab kicks, think of kind of opening up your chest, roll your shoulder blades down your spine, fingertips point forward, and then you pop those hips up, and we go into those kicks. We are at the halfway point. You have 2 minutes to go, so just kind of take note of where you are. Can you try to double what you've already done? In the army crawl, I want you to make sure your legs are staying active. So squeeze the quads as if you're trying to lift them off your kneecaps. Squeeze your glutes. You're knitting your ribs together. Your navel is drawing towards the spine. Your spine is long, which means your neck is long, okay? So we're not looking at our feet. Your gaze is shifted up, kind of by your fingers. This is not just a great core burner, but you will feel your shoulders light up as well. All right, final 60 seconds on the clock. Let's go. I'm going to try to get through one more set of these. So I'm on those crab kicks. I'm going to see if I can do these and the army crawls in the 60 seconds. I should be able to, given what I've already gotten through. "40 seconds to go. Making my way to those army crawls. Taking my sweet time. Hurry it up, Nicole." In the army crawl, I want you for a second to tune your attention to the space on your upper back in between your shoulder blades. I want you to think of filling that space. So really push the floor away, engage through your chest. And done. All right, you have 60 seconds to rest. But if that is enough for you or you're short on time, you could always stop your workout here. If not, we're going to go through all three of those one more time. So we'll start back with AMRAP 1, those first two exercises, and I'll just give you a preview of them now, even though we've already done them, just a little reminder. And you have options. You could just start at the top with 5 of the rolling crunches, or if you remember where you left off from the first AMRAP, you can pick up there. So the first time I got through 4 reps of the rolling crunches before I ran out of time. So when we get going, I'm going to start with just one of the rolling crunches to kind of finish it, and then go into the mountain climbers, picking up where I left off. Again, you do not have to do that. Don't worry about where I am in the workout. You got a few more seconds here. Start making your way into whichever exercise you're starting with. Again, I'm starting with those rolling V-ups. I've just 1 rep to do from the previous round, so that's why you'll notice I'm just quickly side, center, and now I'm going to those mountain climbers. Don't worry if you're at a different point than me. Again, you're not competing with me, although if you are a competitive person and that motivates you, then of course, try to keep pace with me. But it's most important that you are challenging yourself, okay? So compete with yourself from the first time we did these AMRAPs. How many rounds were you able to get through the first time? Try to match that on this side or beat that. So at this point in the workout, well over 15 minutes in, my push-ups are struggle city. So I'm going to modify them from my knees so that I can keep proper form. Again, if you are still good to go on your feet, do that. We are 1 minute in, which means you have 3 minutes to go. That makes it sound bad. I probably shouldn't have said that. As a rule of thumb, I don't like to give time checks until we're past the halfway point, and when I'm teaching in person anyway, because otherwise I feel like it's torture. But couldn't help myself. Sorry, guys, it slipped out. We got a good while to go. If you're having trouble getting a big range of motion on the side V-ups, make sure that you're on the side of your butt sort of and not directly on the side of your hip. Okay, if you're rolled too far forward, you're not going to be able to get much lift. So you're sort of back on the side of your butt cheek more. All right, we are past the halfway point. That is reassuring, all right? Keep it up. Take note of how many rounds you've gotten through up to this point and try to match that in the second half of it. You got this. I'm going back to those rolling crunches. Remember, in these rolling crunches, if possible, your goal is to keep your feet off the floor the whole time. So the transition, the rolling from side to center, that is part of the exercise. You are working during that. Think of drawing your rib cage in, navel towards spine. Oh, I'm starting to slow down. We have just about 60 seconds to go. In 60 seconds, you are done with these exercises for good. So let's dig deep. Could you pick up the pace anymore? If you're feeling comfortable taking the modifications, maybe you get a little outside your comfort zone and go back to the full versions of the exercises. Twenty seconds to go. Final few seconds here. Pick it up right through to the end. Do not stop until you hear those beeps. All right, 60 seconds to recover. We're repeating AMRAP 2. And again, to give you a little refresher, I will show you those two exercises. Your choice, you can pick up where you left off, which is what I'm going to do, or you could just start at the top, does not matter. So the first time we did this AMRAP, I got through the crossbody single arm marches in my final round, but I didn't get to the V up and overs. So I'm going to start with the V up and overs here, picking up where I left off. Again, you do not have to start here. You can start at the top or wherever you personally left off. Let's get ready. Those beeps are about to go off. 4 minutes on the clock. Let's go. So I'm using my fingertips for support. I have my hands in front of my hips slightly. And remember, it's not just your legs lifting up and over. You're lifting your chest up too, like a V up. Making my way to plank for those single arm marches with the crossbody crunch. Again, 3 with one elbow going down and up, and then 3 the other side, keeping the rep number low because I want you to stay in a plank as you move from one side to the next, okay? If possible, don't drop out of it. If you're modifying from your knees, instead of doing a crossbody crunch, just bring the knee to the same elbow because it's really awkward in a plank position from your knees to try to do that. There's not really enough space. So as you start to tire in the V up and overs, the legs do not want to lift up quite as high. They tend to get shallower, lower, and lower. So that is why I'm doing this over a water bottle, just to kind of hold myself accountable so that I do have to lift my feet up at least that much to get it over. But again, you don't need to have an object in front of you. You could just imagine it or use a different object. When you're doing the crossbody crunch, I want you to get that knee as close to actually touching your arm as possible. If you can get it to touch the arm, that is how far forward I want you crunching it. All right, we are past that halfway point, so we have under 2 minutes to go. When you do the march, so the stationary hand, you need to make sure you're bending that elbow, okay? Don't just lower onto one forearm and keep the other arm stick straight, okay? If you do that, your hips and your torso is just gonna kind of dump open into almost a side plank. It is an arm exercise for that stationary arm, so make sure you're bending the elbow almost like a push-up or a tricep dip. Woo, I'm struggling on those. We have 60 seconds to go, 60 seconds on the clock. Let's pick it up. Let's stay active and moving and working right to the end. Think back to the first time we did this set of exercises. How many rounds were you able to get through? Are you on track to match that this time? If you're not, can you dial up the speed just a little bit? Final 20 seconds. We are in our last couple seconds. I'm going to make my way to a plank, but I don't really have time to do any of the marches, so there it is. Just held it for a second. Okay, 60 seconds here to rest, and then we're moving into our final AMRAP. We are repeating AMRAP number 3. I'll give you a preview of the exercises, even though we already did them, just for a little refresher. We got crab kicks, 10 of those, alternating, so 5 each side. And we have army crawls where we will use a towel or sliders to crawl up and down the length of our mat. And again, if you are not doing the sliding exercise, if you don't have a towel or maybe your just floor is not conducive to it, just do forearm plank jacks instead. If you're going to do that, I want 10 of those. Now, the first time we did these, I was able to get through the complete set at the end. So I'm just going to start at the top with those crab kicks, but you can pick up wherever you left off the first time if you'd prefer. 4 minutes on the clock, and this is your final 4 minutes of this workout. Let's go. Crab kicks with those little tricep dips, so important. Make sure you're bending the elbows as you do that. You should feel the backs of your arms light up. For the army crawls, it's up and back. Up and back is 1 rep. We're doing 5 reps. You're trying to stay in the plank for all 5 of them. So it's a shoulder burnout as well as a core exercise. And they don't have to be long, okay? Look, I'm just doing like 3 or 4 crawls up, 3 or 4 crawls back. So for the army crawl, remember, I want you to stay active through the legs as well. So I shouldn't see your knees dipping down to the ground unless you, of course, are purposely modifying on your knees. So squeeze the quads and glutes. And notice if your hips are rocking side to side as you crawl up and back. You want to keep them as level as possible. So you might need to separate your feet a little wider, or just make sure you're really staying active through that midsection. So picture your rib cage is almost like a girdle, all right? Knit those ribs together, draw them in. We're well past that halfway point. You have a little over 90 seconds to go. Let's make sure neck is staying long in these army crawls, so we're not letting the head droop. I know our skull is pretty heavy, but you want that gaze looking at your fingers, not at your feet. Final 60 seconds of this workout. Let's go. Make your way to those crab kicks if you're on pace with me. And when you do them, you want to make sure that the chest is staying open. So we're thinking of sliding our shoulder blades down our spine, nice broad chest. When you do the kick, you're squeezing through the glutes. All right, just over 30 seconds remaining. My goal is to get through these army crawls. Take note of where you are in these sets. Can you complete whatever exercise you're on before the time runs out? Ten seconds to go. Woo! And done. That is your workout. Hope you enjoyed that workout. If you did, you know the drill. Give this video a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to my channel. I've been getting a lot of requests for low impact workouts and more resistance band workouts. So the next couple weeks, I have some low impact resistance band workouts for you. The first one will focus on lower body. The second one will focus on upper body and core. And if you're looking for a full body workout, you can always just do the two back to back. So I will see you next week with a new workout.